Good morning and welcome to the Mike Show for Wednesday, May 6th, 2026. 36 degrees at 7:51 a.m. There's my Maxie. There's my Maxie. You come have a seat, Max? There's my gruel. I just finished my gruel. What a night. We are outside, and I think, oh boy, where are they? Out on the edge of the spruce tree. That is Chloe and Ruthie, and I think they might have killed something. I'm not sure. Chloe's over that way somewhere. I think Max headed back inside. It's a crisp, cool morning. Got down to 32 last night. Lots of birds singing out here in the neighborhood. The jonquils over in Mrs. Smith's yard are bright and yellow. Years ago, I was reading this book, and you mentioned jonquils, and I was out at my mother's place, and my neighbor Irma was out there, and I was talking to Irma, and I said, Irma, I'm reading this book. Irma had a garden. And I said, Irma, what are jonquils? And she said, these. And they're daffodils, is what we call them here, I guess. Oh, is that Gracie? There's Gracie. There's Gracie. Oh boy, there's her little legs underneath the truck, behind the truck anyway, on the other side. There's that Mackie again. So anyway, speaking of Mom, I had a very bad nightmare about my mother. It wasn't about her per se, but she was in it. And either I had just come home from somewhere and all my things were gone. And it was just totally bizarre. And I was trying to I was going to go do some vacuuming, and my vacuuming was gone, and she brought me this other one that was it was a piece of that cheap plastic, that thin stuff that cracks real easy. And I said, this isn't my vacuum. Where's my vacuum? And then, anyway, long story short, all my things were gone. And then I realized, this isn't my room. What happened to my room? What did you do? And it was just terrible. It was just bizarre. And it took me a while to catch on and figure out, you're having a nightmare. And I woke up from that. I was upstairs at that time. I did fall asleep at camp again last night, what I call the sun porch. Seems to be my routine of late, 3 days in a row. Fell asleep around 10, woke up at not quite 3:30, I think it was 3:23, and I was going to go lay down on Audie's bed in the living room, and I saw Ruthie laying in the middle of that, and I didn't want to disturb her, so I just went upstairs, and Gracie kept coming up. Eventually Elsie did, and as far as I know, she's still up there. But anyway, it's cold out here sitting here, but I thought I'd give it a try. I should be sitting in the sunshine. It wouldn't be so bad, but it's too windy. Wind is coming from the northwest. Oh, yeah. So another dream I had, and this one was a good one. I was with Larry Bird, a basketball player, famous from the 80s and the 90s. One of the best basketball players of all time. And I don't know what was going on with that, but we were going to some kind of dinner somewhere. And it was up in a hall. Oh boy. All right, who we got here? Gracie. There's that Gracie. You being a good girl? You having a good adventure, Gracie? I love you, honey. I love you, baby girl. That's Pudge. That's my Pudge. Oh boy. So anyway, what are we gonna? We're drinking some coffee. We ate our gruel, and Coffee's tasting pretty good on this cool morning. My hands are actually numb right now. Checked the blood pressure. It was 114 over 72, and my pulse was 77. I've been checking it a lot of late. Before exercise, after exercise. There's times it's like really good. My heartbeat is only like, yesterday it was like 55. After a bunch of stressful things, it was up to 93. But that was normal, I guess. I don't know. But generally, since I've been checking it on a regular basis, it's been pretty good. There's that Ruthie. There's that Ruthie. You want to go back in the house now and get a treat? Oh, boy. There's that Gracie. Where'd Coke go? Where's Sister, honey? Where's Sister? Where's Sister at? Uncle Mackie's probably sitting on the steps. So anyway, we're going to take a little break. And we are back, and we're back inside. I just rounded everyone up and got them their treat. There's Gracie. There's Coke. She didn't eat too much. Elsie and Max and Ruthie are upstairs finishing off the rest of it. Oh boy, Kokie's done that a couple times now. She didn't seem to be too hungry. Oh yeah. So anyway, yesterday's thumbnail was a shot of our beloved Sullivan. Yeah, Sully came to us in 2019 in the summer. No, it was 2021, excuse me. And he was in rough shape. He was in real rough shape. He had mites in his ears so bad that he had torn the flesh and the fur right off behind each ear, scratching him. The infection and the mites were so bad. And this was during the old COVID time, the old bullshit times. And I'm not saying that people didn't die and didn't get sick, but there was a ton of disinformation, misinformation, straight up lies and bullshit during that period that they're still trying to push. That little rat-faced fucker Fauci, who helped fund it, came on every day and lied about it. And he's one of them people I think should be. Well, he killed a lot of people, and he got rich off it, him and many others. That's not the first time either, but anyway. They're supposed to be, they got like 6 more days to cook his goose, and we'll see if it happens, but I doubt it will. But it makes you wonder. They gave him President Potato gave him a pardon before he left office. It's like he wasn't even convicted of anything. Aren't you supposed to be convicted of something before you get a pardon? But hey, I'm thinking again, and you're not to do that. So anyway, where was I going with that? So I couldn't, it was tough getting a vet appointment or anything, and the first thing I had to do was get Sullivan's trust, and we'd go out and have coffee in the morning, and I'd have food out there for him, and in the afternoon he'd come by around 7 o'clock. I was working at the time. So I'd make sure he'd get some breakfast, and I'd gradually get him to trust me, and I'd put antibiotic ointment on his ears and in his ears as I could. I gave him some leftover pills from someone else. I don't remember who it was. We had extras though. And, every day he'd come by and I'd slip one of those pills into a can of food, and then he'd eat it. And I knew he was at least getting that. I got him dewormed. I did everything I could for him here, with short of getting a vet appointment for him, which we weren't able to do till October. We caught him and got him in. Got him to the vets. And Dr. Greenfield told me she'd keep him overnight. So I wouldn't, because I said, I can't guarantee after you give him an appointment and give him some vaccinations, I can catch him and get him back here. So if we get him in here one time, we got to get him in, and do what you got to do to examine him and then neuter him the next day, or do whatever. And that's what ended up happening. And I picked him up after work that day. And for the time he was with us, he was a good boy. I mean, he didn't like sharing me. He went from like 9 pounds to over 22. Couldn't believe the difference in him. Had dental work done. He had some bad teeth that needed pulling. And he was FIV positive, I believe, as well. I don't think he had leukemia. But that, when he got sick, that was his downfall. When he got kidney disease, he went fast. And I have no idea how old he was. I know I'd seen him around the neighborhood for a couple years anyway. It's hard to think back and remember to those times. But anyway, Sully was a good boy. And we lost him in February of 2025. He was diagnosed at the end of December and gone by, I think it was February 21st. So that was Sully. But he was a good boy. And he is loved and missed like all of them are. With that, we're taking another break. And we're back again. There's Coke. She's getting a drinky. To the 8 billion of you who weren't able to see the video when I talked about it this past winter, around Christmas time, Ruthie started playing with and dumping over every water dish. We used to have a whole bunch of water dishes. They were upstairs, right here where this one is, and one over there. For years we had that. And all of a sudden, Ruthie just decided to start playing with water dishes and spilling them over once she got them low enough to where she could flip them. So anything that was top heavy as far as the shape of the bowl, she could flip. And I ended up having to sacrifice the kettle I make soup in over there as a water dish. And this one she plays with but can't really flip over. So anyway, look at Coke. Look at how they do that. So we didn't do a whole lot yesterday. I wanted to go biking and maybe do some planking, but I knew first thing in the morning my knees were hurting and it was best not to do that. So I rested, and we did go out and hang out in the afternoon for a bit. The girls were real good about hanging around. Didn't watch any movies last night. I read to them. One thing to note, I did catch 11-year-old kid and a 14-year-old kid in Milwaukee. They were in a stolen car, and the 11-year-old took a shot at some inspector. I don't know what the guy was inspecting, but they took a shot at this guy, an 11-year-old kid. What a culture, eh? What a culture. Got a letter in the mail. It was on city letterhead, but it was addressed, the address was in Pennsylvania, and it was something about hooking up some kind of thing on my water system and then having it inspected every year. And I thought, what kind of bullshit is this? And who's that? Oh, there's Ruthie. There's that Ruthie. Oh, what was I saying? So I called the number and found out, and it was something that was done annually. I'd get a letter, and it had to do with whether or not you had a boiler system on your furnace, or if you had a underground sprinkler system in your yard, you had to have this thing to keep water from backflowing or something. And I said, well, I don't have none of that. And she said, well, you need to email this and address and let them know that. But before I did that, I called our city water department and I said, is this thing legit? I said, it's kind of creepy that it's got an Alpena letterhead but a Pennsylvania address. And she said, no, it is. And it's like, my thoughts. Here's our the state and city saying buy local and all that. And it's another example of they farm out what they used to do to a company in another state. So fuck your buy local. Oh, what else did I want to mention? I've been yammering a long time. And with that, yeah, that's just more of that political dingbats we got running the city here. But so I emailed them with the information, and I'm thinking to myself, they sent me a letter and they got my home address, they got my account number, they got everything they need. Why the hell does she need me to email her and tell her that? It's like, when whoever transferred the information, they should have known that. But that's me trying to think logically again, and I know you can't do that in this world. So I sends the email to the address, and I read it back to her after she gave it to me, the woman in Pennsylvania. I read her the email address back, sent the email with the information, and it kept bouncing back saying it couldn't be delivered. So piss on them. And I think that's about all we got for today. I'm going to do a little stretching. When it warms up a bit, I'm going to hop on my fat bike, pedal out the back way to the range, get some ride out through the forest, and I'm going to go do some plinking. And after that, I have no idea what we're going to do, but I'm in no hurry to get out of here today. So that's that for now.